Yeah, he
And
was a very, very good footballer.
and last of all, David De Gea. I personally think it's time to give Henderson an extended run. I think that we just got to try something new, and I think that defense needs help, and I think that they need somebody possibly more vocal behind them to help them out, to tell them what they're not seeing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you could say probably 4 seasons since De Gea has been at his peak.
It was the Cristiano Ronaldo hat trick in the World Cup. And he's literally never been the same player since that. I don't know what the hell happened that game, but yeah. So lots of thoughts. It's a tough reality for United fans right now. It's hard to see a bright light going forward just because there's so many glaring issues on so many levels. There's glaring issues on the field. There's glaring issues in the stands with the coaches, and there's glaring issues in the office and in the back room with the ownership and everything revolving around that. So it's tough. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before, but it's tough right now. So we'll see how we do in Europa League. I honestly would just like the youth players to get a run out on that, so we can focus on.
Well, to be honest, the one bright spark of Arsenal season this season has been watching the Europa League, because it's been our second team. We've been rolling teams over 4-0, 5-0. Yeah. You get to see the 19-year-olds, the 18-year-olds. Like, you know what? We might be decent, and then
you're seeing. I think you're seeing Bruno Fernandes get tired because he has to play every single game because we don't have anything without him. Same thing with Marcus Rashford. So give them the midweek games off and just see what the youth can do, because I thoroughly don't care about the Europa League anymore. I'm so tired of it. You should just open this episode with the Europa League anthem.
Come on, we know the words.
What is the Europa League anthem? Is it
it's just people chanting. That's it. That's it.
It's like that. Yeah. Anyways, I was so excited to hear the Champions League anthem. I got to hear it for 6 games this year, and we're back to the brown and gold colorway of the Europa League. So
honestly, this will deserve an episode of its own. But I don't know who was behind the whole rebranding of the UEFA Cup, but they did such a bad job. The UEFA Cup was it looked, even the colors I remember, it was very similar to the Champions League, and it was considered a pretty decent trophy. Right now they chose
respected competition.
Yeah, and right now it's brown and gold. It's like the Malpensa airport in Milan that has the worst combination. It's dark green and sort of white yellow. You're just man, couldn't you choose 2 better colors to decorate your walls and stuff? Nice, Bryce. It was nice to have you on.
I enjoyed that.
Yes. Now that we know you've got a notebook about United, we will call you more often. To actually, we will consult you to know more about United. God knows what resides in that notebook.
What's new? Yeah, I could be just United correspondent. I could just come on.
We might pick some positive moments, but I might try and pick just the negative moments. But we'll see.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a lot of positive ones to pick out here going forward in the next couple of months. So.
But Bryce, it was beautiful to have you on, and we're about to continue without you on our Euro review. Yeah, but we'll talk soon again, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So that was Group H, one of I think it will go down in history for a while, that group. Obviously, not just for the football on the pitch, but for the kind of events that happened off it as well. But it was great to talk to Bryce. He really knew his shit, and it was kind of nice to talk to a United fan who was suffering almost as much, maybe as much as the Arsenal fans. I think the clubs have quite a lot in common. As I said in the chat, we're kind of in similar positions. So I kind of felt like kindred spirits almost, but you could see his frustration, especially at Harry Maguire. That did make me laugh, and Ollie as well.
And now I guess we're all ready to deep dive in.
Are you ready, Tommy? Are you ready?
Honestly, I will say it even to Uncle Sharms when we get to talk to him. I'm not in distress. I was watching that game last night without any. Hope towards the last 10 minutes. My heart.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Towards the last 10 minutes, Rory keeps playing that recording. Towards the 10 last minute, my heart started racing. But this morning, I woke up and I was just fine, whatever, we're out. We're not even in the Europa League. That's the silver lining. Yeah.
Stop, man. Honestly, the levels of denial. Anyway,
let's see what Uncle Sharms think. I think there is a phone call coming on.
Okay, so here we are, ready to break down Group B with Tommy and our guest, Uncle Sharma. How are you today, mate?
Yeah, could be better, mate, but, just
surviving
along. Surviving.
Good. So, honestly, thank you for coming on to the pod. We kind of interacted a little bit and to and forth on Twitter, and it's great to have you on. So please just tell the listeners who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, no, I'm just a big Inter fan who, you can find me on Twitter, on the Uncle Sharma, on the YouTube as well. I just make, videos regarding Inter mainly. I try to make Serie A content, but it ends up just being mainly around Inter. And I just, I love, talking about football and all that kind of stuff. Nothing, serious, mainly unserious and banter stuff, really, yeah.
Well, this is it. This is what we try to do here, and I feel your pain. Like I try and talk about football generally, but end up relating everything back to Arsenal, and I'm sure it winds everyone up. So I can definitely feel your pain. But good. So you're an Inter fan. Where are you calling us from?
I'm calling you from the great city of Leicester.
That it is a great city. A big student lifestyle. I always remember when I used to go out there. I remember there was a really good indie club. I can't remember what it was called now. I barely remember leaving. But anyway, as we are here, let's introduce Tommy. Are you there, Tommy? Let's go.
I've been here the whole time, just listening to you two chat and getting ready for the Inter talk.
So I'm going to let you two vent and get everything off your chest as you need to. What happened last night, guys? Let's go.
The same thing happened that, has been happening the last, 2 times. This is the 3rd time now. They say the 3rd time is a charm. It was not a charm. The 3rd time was just as bad, or I would say probably the worst actually out of all 3, because this year, we really had all, there was no excuses this year. Last few years maybe we had, injury issues. You could say maybe the squad wasn't as strong, but this year, Shakhtar Donetsk at home, you have to beat them. There's no excuses. Your squad, you've assembled this multi-million squad. We're paying this guy. I don't like to talk about this, on Twitter, you probably see it. Everyone talks about 12 million net salary, 12 milioni netti all'anno. But at some point, you are paid the big bucks to, get these results. And yeah, his reputation is preceding him now. This Euro flop Conte is true. There's no denying. And yeah, that's
a thing that I always wonder is, so a manager either is a good manager or he's not that good of a manager. How come Conte really performs very well in the national leagues, but when it comes to Europe, he cannot go through? Like, what happens there? What is the big difference between Champions League fixtures and Serie A fixtures, in your opinion?
I don't know. I can't really pinpoint something. I don't know what your opinion is, that, because the tactics. Or some people say the 3 at the back doesn't work in Europe, but I don't like to simplify football like that much. I don't think 3 at the back is really the problem, or I don't know if it's just one of those taboo thing with Conte in Europe. Just the luck. I don't know. I really can't pinpoint why his issue is in Europe. I don't know what your opinion is, or Rory, maybe you have some opinion on that.
Is it not more of a thing of being able to prepare for individual teams? I feel like maybe over a league campaign, your system can become more of a it can become more ingrained, whereas in Europe, you have to tackle teams individually. You only have 2 games to beat them, or you only have 2 weeks to prepare for them, whatever it is. I feel like maybe he has a struggle with fitting his system to other teams. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that well, Conte has demonstrated time and time again that he's very strict with his system. He doesn't later we will talk also about Eriksen, which is a big talking point. But he's shown over and over again that he's not, he doesn't want to change his system. His system works in Serie A. When it comes to Europe, I think there is a little, you can't be so strict with what you like, what you don't like. You need to adapt a little bit more. I think, however, that last night's game was one of the better games that we've played this campaign.
Yeah, I was pretty happy, especially the first half. I thought, okay, we haven't scored, but we've created chances. We're dominating the game. We had like 53, 54% possession. And yeah, Shakhtar hardly had a shot on goal. So I was pretty happy. But then, as time goes on, we saw those same issues coming up that we had against PSV, the match that Ruairi luckily got to attend, where, you just see that the more time goes on, the more Shakhtar got confidence, because they seemed like they were happy with the draw for some reason, which was very confusing, to be honest, because they could have actually, if they won, they could have gone through to the next stage. And then the more time went on, Inter was starting to panic, just lumping the ball into the middle when we don't really have apart from Lukaku, Lautaro and Sanchez, those guys are not really, target man. So the style of play just ended up being, cross and inshallah, I saw there was 44 crosses by the end of the match, It looked like, the Spalletti was like managing the team or something. It was back to like Kandreva and Perisic.
Yeah, you actually spotted, that was a very fun Twitter post. You spotted Spalletti in the Inter's bench last night, right?
Yeah, I think it looked so close to Spalletti. It was so funny. Yeah, it was like Conte and Spalletti joining forces for the ultimate cross inshallah performance.
I always giggle when I see a Spalletti meme about like Inter right now, like Spalletti giggling and looking at us. But I think that besides Conte, besides this team, there is got to be something rooted in our mentality, because the last 3 Champions League campaigns, we've always shut the bed on the very last day. How does that happen? Why? I mean, we've got a pretty strong European tradition. What is this fear to perform on the big European stage?
I don't know. It must be something mental now, because, you can change coaches. It was the same on the Spalletti. A lot of these players are the same. The likes, we've spent a lot of money, but when you look at it on paper, a lot of the players are still the same. Perisic, is still out there. The Vrai's been there. Handanovic, the core of the team is still, very similar to that team that went out to PSV a couple of years ago. So I don't know if it's this big match mentality, because under Conte, we've also been losing the big matches, against Juve. We lost the last derby. Under Spalletti, maybe we were winning a few more of those. That was one of Spalletti's saving graces, that, Inter in the big matches under him were good. But under Conte, we seem to go into a match with almost like a mentality that, not losing, but, this is going to be a difficult match, rather than taking the match to a team. And this Conte makes the team, I like that the team works very hard. When you see the stats on the Conte, we're always running more than the other team. But usually, if you're the superior team, you make the other team run more. So I think that works into Rory's point, where he was talking about maybe preparing matches, when you have 2 or 3 days to prepare. Antonio Conte relies so much on that physicality of his team, where when you have all these close matches, and if the physicality drops even a few percent, then, we see these big gaps that the midfield sometimes leaves. So I think it's just a combination of things, mental, obviously, as you said, but also I think physical.
Yeah, Rory, any thoughts about this one?
Well, it all fell apart fairly quickly for Conte at Chelsea as well. After a very, very impressive team, very impressive league wins and cup wins, it all collapsed pretty quickly. And I think, like you said, he has his system, he sticks to his system, and maybe once that system is figured out, he doesn't really know what to do. I think we said before, the group that Inter had, I think, was actually a pretty difficult group, because Mönchengladbach have proved to be like a big surprise package. But I think, like you said, his track record in the Champions League is starting to look pretty terrible, and it's across different clubs now as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the only sensitive, meaningful things that Conte said in the post-match conference was that, from what I read, I didn't have the guts to watch the interview because I heard that it was bad. But one thing interesting that he said was that you cannot not score 1 goal over 2 legs against Shakhtar. That's absolutely embarrassing. I was telling earlier on the pod, when we drew the groups, I said, Shakhtar, we've beat them 5-0 2 months ago. That should be easy. Real Madrid, they are not the Real Madrid. If there is one year you want to play against Real Madrid, this is the year. Guess why? Shakhtar beat them twice. I feel like I feel like ever since the first game, we didn't have the right attitude to make it past this group. You were saying earlier when you just came on, when was the moment that you realized we wouldn't make it through the group?
Yeah, that second defeat to Real Madrid at the San Siro, after that, I was like, the Arturo Vidal red card, and everything just looked like that's it. This team is not going to make it through. Is another year of wasted opportunities. Then they do the usual Inter thing. They bring you in again, It's like they give you some hope after the Gladbach win. It's like, oh, okay, maybe we can make it.